Marcus Aurelius' 5 Rules of Iron Will, How to Stay Strong When Life Crushes You. In a time of war, betrayal, and political chaos, one man stood still. Calm. Wise. Unshaken. His name was Marcus Aurelius, the last of the 5 good emperors of Rome. But more than a ruler, he was a philosopher. A Stoic. A man who believed that true power doesn't come from armies or gold but from mastering the self. In this video, we'll uncover 5 timeless principles that Marcus Aurelius lived by. The very rules that helped him govern an empire, and more importantly, rule his own mind. Marcus Aurelius, Roman emperor from 161 to 180 AD. Lived through plague, betrayal, family loss, and constant war. His private journal, Meditations, was never meant for publication, yet it became one of the most important works in Stoic philosophy. His life was a battle not just against external enemies, but against his own ego, impulses, and emotions. Principle 1: Master yourself, not the world. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. The illusion of control. Most people spend their lives fighting a war they cannot win, the war against what is outside of their control. They try to change how others think, how the world responds, how fate unfolds. But the battlefield is misplaced. The real war is not out there. It's inside. Marcus Aurelius knew this. As emperor of Rome, he commanded armies, governed vast territories, held absolute power in theory. And yet, in his private journal, what we now call Meditations, he reminded himself again and again, you have power over your mind, not outside events. That's not something you write unless you need to remember it. Unless the world constantly tests that idea. Because the world will test you. People will betray you. Plans will collapse. Sickness will come. Death will knock. And you will be tempted, deeply, humanly tempted, to rage against it all. But Marcus offers a redirection. The Stoic path is not passive. It's powerful. It's not about giving up. It's about giving attention to the one thing you can always control, your inner response. The Emperor and the Plague. When Marcus ruled Rome, a deadly plague swept through the empire. Known later as the Antonine Plague, it killed 5 million people. It devastated cities, families, legions. It would have been easy for a leader to collapse under the weight of that suffering. But Marcus did not flee. He didn't hide. He faced the situation as it was, not as he wished it to be. In those same years, his close friend and general, Avidius Cassius, led a revolt. A betrayal of the deepest kind. Most emperors would have responded with vengeance. Marcus did not. He grieved. He reflected. And he chose clemency. Why? Because he knew the only thing he could truly rule was himself. Control versus influence. There's a profound difference between control and influence. You cannot control if people love you, but you can influence it by being kind, honest, and loyal. You cannot control how others behave, but you can influence how you show up, with composure, consistency, and principle. But influence begins at the seat of the mind. If you are ruled by every emotion, every offense, every shifting wind of opinion, then your life is not your own. You become a puppet pulled by invisible strings. The Stoic reclaiming of power is this: cut the strings. Return your focus to where your hands can actually reach, your mindset, your habits, your interpretation of events. A story of inner fortitude, Admiral James Stockdale. Admiral James Stockdale, a senior officer in the U.S. Navy, endured one of the most challenging tests of the human spirit in modern history. Captured during a military conflict, he was held in harsh captivity for over 7 years, facing extended isolation and severe hardship. What sustained him through those long years wasn't brute force or external hope, it was his inner frame. Stockdale had studied the Stoic philosophy of Epictetus before his capture, and he leaned on those teachings during his darkest hours. He later reflected, "I never lost faith in the end of the story. I never doubted not only that I would get out, but also that I would prevail in the end and turn the experience into the defining event of my life." This was not blind optimism. It was what became known as the Stockdale paradox, the ability to confront the brutal facts of your current reality, while never losing faith that you will prevail in the end. Stockdale couldn't control the events outside him, the isolation, the pain, the uncertainty. But he could control his thoughts, his attitude, his response. And that inner mastery, he believed, was the key to his survival. The trap of external validation. Modern life tempts us to look outward for everything: praise, attention, comfort, identity. We check how many likes we received. We adjust our opinions to match trends. We feel joy only when others approve of us. But this is a fragile way to live. Because the moment the world withdraws its applause, we collapse. Marcus Aurelius warns us, if your happiness depends on anything outside your mind, it is vulnerable. You will always be chasing, never arriving. Practical mastery. So how do we begin mastering ourselves? Daily reflection, like Marcus, keep a journal. Not for others. For you. Write down how you responded to difficulty. Where did you act out of fear? Out of ego? Where did you hold your center? Negative visualization. The Stoics practiced imagining the worst-case scenario, not to be pessimistic, but to prepare the mind. If it happens, you've rehearsed. If it doesn't, you feel deep gratitude. Shift language. Don't say, "He made me angry." Say, "I allowed myself to get angry." This subtle shift reclaims power. Detach from outcome, do your best. Let go of the results. You can control your effort, not the reward. Meditate on death, not as morbidity, but as clarity. You don't have forever. What will you do with now? Final thoughts. Mastering yourself is not a one-time achievement. It is a daily discipline. A quiet rebellion against the chaos of the world. It's saying, I will not be moved by every storm. I will not give others the keys to my peace. I will not spend my life chasing control over things that cannot be held. Instead, I will govern my mind. I will rule my emotions. I will be the emperor of my own inner kingdom. That's the strength Marcus Aurelius offers us. Not through conquest, but through character. And in a world that pulls us in 1,000 directions, the person who can sit quietly and remain unmoved becomes a rare and powerful force. Because the one who has mastered himself, needs to master nothing else. Principle 2, your thoughts shape your reality. The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. The inner lens. Imagine two people walking through the same rainy day. One curses the clouds, the traffic, the soaked shoes. The other walks slowly, breathing in the smell of wet earth, grateful for the coolness, the quiet, the pause in pace. Same external event. Radically different internal reality. What changed? The weather? No. Only the thought. This is the power Marcus Aurelius speaks of. Not the power to change the world, but the deeper, more difficult power to change how you see it. The filter of the mind. Your thoughts are like a lens through which you view everything. A cracked lens distorts even the clearest view. A clean, focused lens allows you to see with precision. If you fill your mind with complaints, envy, fear, and blame, your world becomes heavy, dark, suffocating. But if your thoughts lean toward gratitude, clarity, discipline, and acceptance, the same world appears bright, spacious, and meaningful. Marcus wasn't selling feel-good optimism. He was prescribing a deep mental discipline, to catch your thoughts in the act. To question them. To shape them. Because thoughts aren't harmless. They are seeds. Given time, they grow into the shape of your life. Viktor Frankl, Between Stimulus and Response. Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor and psychiatrist, echoed this truth in his landmark book Man's Search for Meaning. He wrote, "Everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances." In the concentration camps, amidst unthinkable horror, Frankl discovered a freedom no captor could take, the freedom to think. To give meaning. To choose how to interpret suffering. This is not philosophy from an armchair. This is battlefield-tested wisdom. And it aligns with what Marcus Aurelius knew centuries earlier. The quiet construction of happiness. Happiness isn't loud. It doesn't come in big packages or breaking news. It comes in small, daily choices. It builds silently. Choosing not to dwell on the insult. Choosing to notice the sky while washing dishes. Choosing to focus on effort, not praise. Choosing to find the lesson instead of replaying the wound. Every thought you choose to feed becomes a brick in the house you live in. Make sure it's a house you want to stay in. Practical application. Thought journaling. Each night, write down recurring thoughts. Are they empowering or weakening you? Challenge their truth. Rewrite them. Gratitude anchoring. When stressed, pause and name 3 things you still have. This reroutes the mind away from lack and back to presence. Mantra reset. Create a short phrase that brings you back to strength. Examples: I don't chase peace. I build it, or I control my thoughts, not the world. Mental diet. Just like food affects the body, input affects the mind. Limit consumption of drama, outrage, and envy, especially on social media. Meditation. A few minutes a day of simply observing your thoughts without judgment builds mental space. And in that space, choice returns. Final reflection. The world often teaches us that happiness is out there, in the next purchase, the next partner, the next achievement. Marcus reminds us, it's already here. Hidden in the quality of our thoughts. He doesn't promise an easy life. He promises a life that, through disciplined thinking, can remain steady, purposeful, and surprisingly joyful, even in hardship. So ask yourself, what thoughts are shaping your world today? Because if you change your thoughts, you change your life. And no one can take that power from you. Principle 3, act, don't debate. Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. The cost of talking. In an age of opinions, there is no shortage of voices telling you what goodness is. Social media scrolls endlessly with virtue signals. Comment sections burst with moral declarations. Everyone seems to know what the world should be, who should be better, and how you should live. But Marcus Aurelius, who lived nearly 2,000 years ago, cuts through the noise with a single sentence: waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. It is a call to stop intellectualizing virtue and to start embodying it. This is not to say thoughtfulness doesn't matter. But thinking, detached from action, quickly becomes a form of procrastination. We analyze, we debate, we build perfect theories, but we forget to live them. We mistake mental gymnastics for moral clarity. The Stoic general. Consider Marcus himself. He wasn't a professor in a quiet study. He was the emperor of Rome, commanding armies, holding off invasions, navigating betrayals, pandemics, and the pressures of power. He did not have the luxury of endless debate. He had to decide. To lead. To act. And yet, even amidst those responsibilities, he did not outsource his virtue. He didn't demand others be better while excusing himself. Instead, he journaled reminders to himself, to be patient, just, disciplined, compassionate. Not just to write about goodness. To live it. When you are under pressure, when you are exhausted, when injustice angers you, that's when your values are tested. That's when you find out if your ethics are decorative or durable. The story of the quiet fireman. There's a story about a firefighter who served for 40 years in a small town. He had no social media. He gave no lectures. He was not known outside his county. But he saved lives, mentored younger firefighters, volunteered at a youth shelter, and stayed married for 50 years. When asked in a rare interview why he never spoke out more or gave talks about leadership, he simply said, "I figured the best way to talk about what mattered was to live it." That's Stoicism in action. He didn't argue what good was. He was it. Quietly. Consistently. Without applause. Action as moral proof. Words are easy. They cost nothing. But action demands something from you: time, energy, discomfort, vulnerability. To live like a good person requires that you make sacrifices. It means you don't cut corners when no one is watching. It means you help others not because it's trending, but because it's right. It means you hold your tongue when anger flares. You listen when pride wants to speak. You show up when comfort says stay home. These are not small things. They are the raw material of character. And character, unlike reputation, is what you build in silence. When philosophy becomes ego. There's a danger when philosophy becomes an identity badge. We read the books, memorize the quotes, tell others how to live. But Marcus warns, don't let wisdom become performance. Seneca, another Stoic, once wrote, "Philosophy teaches us to act, not to speak." So if you're debating whether to be kind or just, go be it. If you're wondering what integrity looks like, go live it. If you think the world lacks courage, go show it. Don't add noise. Add example. Practical steps to embody principle. Start small, daily. Every day offers a chance to be the person you admire. Help a neighbor. Apologize first. Keep a promise you made to yourself. Silence before action. Before reacting to offense or anger, ask, what would a truly good person do here? Then do that. Create a moral code. Write your own definition of what a good person is, not abstract, but behavioral. Make it your measuring stick. Review your day. Each night, ask, where did I live my values today? Where did I fall short? What will I do better tomorrow? Be the example in the room. In chaos, stay calm. In gossip, stay silent. In pressure, stay principled. Let people feel your ethic, not hear about it. Final reflection. There are 1,000 people arguing about virtue. There are far fewer living it. Be the latter. Because in the end, no one remembers your opinions. They remember how you treated them. They remember what you stood for. And they remember what you stood through. So stop debating goodness like it's theory. Walk it like it's the ground beneath your feet. Don't just think what a good person should be. Be one. Principle 4, respond, don't react. The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury. Emotional mastery in a triggered world. Every day, we encounter moments that press our emotional buttons: a rude driver, an unfair criticism, a betrayal from someone we trusted. The modern world, flooded with instant communication and viral outrage, tempts us to react, quickly, emotionally, and often destructively. But Marcus Aurelius, ruler of the greatest empire of his time, offered a radical path: respond with your character, not your anger. To be unlike the person who wronged you is not weakness. It's mastery. The difference between reaction and response. A reaction is fast, emotional, and impulsive. A response is deliberate, values-driven, and wise. When someone insults you, the reactive self strikes back. When someone betrays you, the reactive self seeks vengeance. When someone disrespects you, the reactive self craves dominance. But the Stoic self, the trained, principled, internally grounded self, pauses. Observes. Breathes. And then chooses, not what feels good, but what is good. Because the moment you mirror their worst behavior, you validate it. You become what you hate. The wisdom of the still warrior. Imagine a seasoned warrior standing before a younger, hot-headed opponent. The younger man lunges in anger. The elder holds still. Calm. Focused. Waiting. He knows that energy wasted in reaction is energy lost to precision. Stoicism is this calm. It is this mastery of self. It teaches, when attacked, do not become an attacker. When wronged, do not become the wrongdoer. When disrespected, do not lose your dignity. To stay still in the storm is not cowardice. It is command. A true story, the forgiveness of Viktor Frankl. Viktor Frankl, a Jewish psychiatrist imprisoned in Nazi concentration camps, lost his family, his dignity, and nearly his life. But he survived with his spirit intact. When asked later if he hated his captors, he said, "Everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances." Frankl responded to unimaginable cruelty not with vengeance, but with wisdom. He went on to heal others, write books, and live in peace. He became unlike those who had injured him. The hidden strength in restraint. In today's world, silence can be misread as weakness. Kindness can be mocked. Non-retaliation can feel naive. But Marcus reminds us, true strength is restraint. Anyone can punch back. Few can hold their ground without lowering themselves. Responding with calmness, dignity, and clarity is harder, but infinitely more powerful. It protects your integrity. It honors your values. And it transforms you from a reactor into a leader. The moral advantage. The world does not need more vengeance. It needs more vision. When someone harms you, they reveal their character. When you respond nobly, you reveal yours. By refusing to echo their malice, you deprive them of victory. You become the proof that pain doesn't have to reproduce pain. That cycles of harm can be broken. That dignity is not dependent on external treatment, but internal choice. Practical ways to respond, not react. Pause and breathe. When offended or provoked, train yourself to wait. Even 5 seconds of breath can interrupt a destructive cycle. Ask, "Who do I want to be?" instead of asking, "What did they do to me?" Ask, "What does this moment demand from the best version of me?" Write, don't explode. If anger surges, write down your feelings first. Let it pour onto a page, not into someone's inbox or face. Let time clarify. Give yourself space before responding to insults, emails, or aggression. Let the heat settle before choosing your words. Seek the higher road. Sometimes the most powerful move is no move at all. Sometimes the highest justice is becoming unshaken, unchanged. Final reflection. You don't need to retaliate to reclaim your power. You don't need to mirror hatred to prove your strength. The best revenge is living with such grace, discipline, and self-respect that their attempt to harm you only reveals your depth. So be unlike those who wound. Be the stillness in the noise. Be the clarity in the chaos. Because in a world that expects reaction, your response, measured, moral, unmoved, becomes a revolution. Principle 5, live each day as if it were your last. Do every act of your life as though it were your last. The urgency of now. Most people live as if they have forever. As if tomorrow is promised. As if they can afford to delay their purpose, their dreams, their relationships, their truth. But Marcus Aurelius speaks with the gravity of a man who understands life's brevity. Live now. Not in indulgence. Not in recklessness. But in awareness. In urgency. In gratitude. If today were your last, how much triviality would you still entertain? How many petty grudges would you still carry? How much energy would you still waste proving yourself to those who don't matter? A day with death beside you. The Stoics didn't fear death, they befriended it. They carried the awareness of mortality not as a burden, but as a compass. To remind them, every breath is a gift. When you act as if your life is finite, each moment becomes sacred. You savor your coffee. You truly listen in conversations. You speak honestly. You love fiercely. You work with intention. You don't scroll mindlessly or argue aimlessly. You don't leave words of love unsaid or acts of kindness undone. You become awake. The regret of the unlived life. There's a story of a nurse, Bronnie Ware, who spent years caring for the dying. She recorded the 5 most common regrets of the dying. The number 1 regret? I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. This is what Marcus tried to save us from. The slow death of the unlived life. The tragedy of potential wasted by hesitation. To live each day as your last is not to fear death. It is to fear not living fully. A modern parallel, Steve Jobs' morning mirror. Steve Jobs once said, "For the past 33 years, I have looked in the mirror every morning and asked myself, if today were the last day of my life, would I want to do what I am about to do today?" When the answer was, no, too many days in a row, he knew something had to change. This is the discipline Marcus speaks of, not fear-based urgency, but clarity-based alignment. Rituals of the present-minded. Morning reflection, begin each day by imagining it could be your last. What would matter most? Evening review, before sleep, ask, did I live today with purpose? Did I love well, work well, grow well? Cut the noise, remove distractions that drain your time and dull your awareness. Life is too short for mindless consumption. Speak truth, say the things you keep saving for later. Later may never come. Act now, don't wait for the perfect time. Take the small step, speak the kind word, make the needed move, now. Final reflection. One day, you will have a last conversation with each person you love. A last sunrise. A last breath. You will not control the timing. But you can control the presence you bring to each moment before that day arrives. So live. Fully. Not recklessly. Not fearfully. But with reverence. With urgency. With depth. As though your life is a gift. Because it is. And it won't last forever. Do every act of your life as though it were your last. Not because you expect to die, but because you finally understand how to live. These weren't rules to impress others. They were daily reminders written by a man who faced more than we'll ever know, and stayed composed. Marcus Aurelius didn't seek to be remembered. He sought to live rightly. He didn't rule the world by force. He ruled it by ruling himself. And in that, he became immortal. Which of these 5 rules spoke to your current season of life? Comment below, let us know. If this video helped you, like, subscribe, and share it with someone who's facing their own battle. At True Grit Mind, we don't just talk about Stoicism. We apply it. One day at a time. One principle at a time.